Hello everyone, I am Sankalp and welcome to Understanding Emotions. In this episode, we are going to talk about meditation and mindfulness and how it can help with emotional intelligence. Meditation has really picked up in the last few years, especially in the West. Lately, there has been an explosion in the public reach of meditation, and also in the science that suggests a number of health benefits related to meditation. It is slowly becoming the mental equivalent of working out and exercising. I believe meditation is something that is highly prone to misinterpretations. In meditation, we are by definition talking about subjective experience, and hence there is a lot of room for misunderstandings. So in this episode, I attempt to bring some clarity about how meditation can help specifically with emotional intelligence, and also specifically for people who have little to no experience with meditation. So I am not talking about concepts like the self, free will, or any of that. I'm just going to talk about how meditation can help save some mental agony. Alright? Okay, so I think it is best to begin with a short 2-minute guided meditation. There's a longer one at the end, but this one will be short just to get our hands dirty. If you have never meditated before, the rest of this episode will make much more sense after doing this exercise. So here we go. Take a seat somewhere not too noisy, on a chair or on a cushion. If you're listening to me while doing something, like walking to some place or cleaning your room, you could still do this practice as long as your attention is not withheld by something. Okay, once seated, gently close your eyes and keep your back straight. If you wear spectacles, you can put them aside for a couple of minutes. And now bring all your attention to your nostrils. Focus on the breath coming in and going out. If the breath is coming in, then just observe that the breath is coming in. When it's going out, just observe when it's going out. Simply pay attention to the flow of your breath. If it helps, you could add a mental note, like saying in when the breath goes in and saying out when the breath goes out. Now, what's gonna inevitably happen, and most likely it has happened already, is that you're gonna get lost in thought. Something or the other is going to hijack your attention. If that happens, simply notice that you're lost in thought and bring your attention back to the breath. Keep doing this. Focus on the breath. If you get lost in thought, bring your attention back. That's it. That's the practice. I'll leave you in silence for the next 10 seconds so that you could try without interruption. Alright, please open your eyes. And that was mindfulness meditation. How does it feel? And what did we just do there? To start with, why focus on the breath? Isn't this show supposed to be about emotional intelligence? And you will be right in your skepticism. There is no special reason to focus on the breath. You could focus virtually on anything. It is just that traditionally the breath has a good track record for beginners. If I were to just say close your eyes and focus on your thoughts, that instruction would be unclear. Focusing on the breath, on the other hand, is quite a clear instruction, quite unambiguous. Now, to understand how meditation helps with emotional intelligence, which is the meat of the matter for today, we need to understand how thinking and thoughts cause us distress. Our minds create a lot of unnecessary suffering for ourselves, and all of it is knit on the fabric of thought. For example, recall the last time you faced rejection of some sorts. Let's say you applied to some position or you asked someone out and you were met with a hard no. In this situation, you would experience a series of unpleasant emotions and sensations. But in addition to that, you will also start thinking about the rejection, like why you got rejected, why you didn't deserve a yes, how inadequate you are, and so on and so forth. Your thoughts would go wild, and most of them would be self-critical. Most of these thoughts is what I would call egoic fictions. They would be about you, and they would be untrue. I have talked more about egoic fictions in episode 2. The key question for this episode is, how do we stop this fiction from inflicting so much misery to us? The mainstream advice for this is either to stop thinking or to think some positive thoughts. Well, quite frankly, I think that is stupid advice. We simply cannot will our minds to be a certain way instantaneously. Moreover, when in the grips of thought, we do not realize the misery we are weaving for ourselves. We are lost in it, lost in thought. So how do we stop? Well, this is where meditation can be useful. When you have a habit of meditation, you have a habit of detecting whenever you are lost in thought. And you have a habit of reclaiming your attention. Simply realizing that you are ruminating means that you are not ruminating. With strong enough mindfulness, you will realize that the emotion itself, the raw emotion which accompanies rejection, for example, is not that difficult to handle in absence of the ruminating thoughts. Without fictional thoughts adding fuel, you are in a better position to deal with whatever the underlying emotion is. This ability to catch rumination in real time can make a huge difference in the quality of your mental lives. I hope you can now see that the practice is not about getting rid of thoughts. Somehow meditation has this image that it's all about emptying your mind. No, quite clearly not. Meditation has nothing against thought per se. Thoughts, in fact, can be quite powerful. What meditation is an antidote for is rumination. It's against obsessive thinking. It is against being at the mercy of thoughts instead of you commanding your thoughts. In the beginning stages, noticing a ruminative train of thought will be the major benefit of meditation. And you will get that benefit by trying to develop stable attention on the breath. In the latter stages, you will also look for other aspects of the mind than mere sensations of the breath. So really, after developing some stability in attention, your mind will become your own personal laboratory of sorts. By paying attention to the various aspects of your mind, you begin to understand the mechanics of your mind. And in that is included the mechanics of how and when suffering arises. But again, that requires some stability in attention, and that is what a beginner meditator should aim to cultivate. At this point, I do want to make it clear that I don't think meditation is sufficient for Project Emotional Health. As said earlier, I think it will give you a clearer perception of what's running the show. But that does not mean if you notice something undesirable, merely paying attention to it will be the solution. Let's consider the emotions that accompany rejection once again. If you have a good meditation practice, you will be able to stop the onslaughts of your inner critic. But that does not make the underlying pain of rejection itself go away. Dealing with the emotion itself could mean uncovering where it's coming from, for example, through a set of childhood experiences. For handling something like that, all modern tools of psychotherapy are valid and appropriate ways and should be sought. Meditation itself carries no guarantee of fixing any undesirable emotion. In fact, if someone has severe emotional trauma or some other issue which could make the mind extremely unstable, I would not recommend them starting with meditation. The thing is that meditation, by putting you in silence and making you focus on your own mind, can bring up stuff that you have been unconsciously avoiding. So if that is the case for you, then you might want to take it slow with meditation. and of course seek professional guidance. For the vast majority, meditating for a few minutes a day should be no problem. So yes, that is meditation for you. I hope you get a better idea of how it can benefit you by acting as an internal alarm when you're caught in something you don't want to be. If you'd like to start immediately, I recommend trying out the following apps and see what suits you the best. Headspace, 10% Happier, and Waking Up. So any of these 3 apps are good in my opinion. Alright, normally at this point we would have some practical tips on the topic of discussion, but since this episode has a longer meditation at the end, I am going to do the announcement section first. Right, so once again, thank you for all the support and encouraging feedback. Keep them coming. We have downloads from about 12 countries now, and that is quite delightful to hear. Emotions are quite universal, so I'm glad that people from all over are tuning in. This podcast is now also available on iTunes, so if you prefer Apple Podcasts, then you will find it in iTunes. If you like this podcast, please do share it with someone who would be interested in this stuff. That is the best way to show your support. If you have any question on the material covered today or before, please get in touch. The relevant links are in the show notes. I would also like to hear if you have any specific topic suggestions for future episodes. And that's about it for today. And now we will do a 10-minute guided meditation. Hola. What follows is a 10-minute guided meditation. Okay, sit comfortably on a chair or on the floor. Keep your back and your neck straight and eyes gently closed. Breathing in and breathing out. Bring all your attention to your nostrils. Focus on the sensation of your natural, normal breath. If your breath is long, then become aware of the fact that your breath is long. If it is short, then just be aware that it is short. Simply pay attention to whatever is happening at the breath. Do not try to manipulate it or change it in any way. As the breath comes in, you're just aware that the breath is coming in. As it goes out, you're just aware that the breath is going out. Just pay attention. It might be helpful to add a label, like in when the breath is coming in, and out when the breath is going out. And just relax and watch the flow of the breath. What's going to inevitably happen is you're going to get lost in thought. If that happens, all you have to do is notice the thought and come back to your breath. Just notice the fact that you're lost in thought and redirect your attention to the breath. So this is the entire exercise really. Breathing in, breathing out, just watch the breath. And if you get lost in thought, just come back to the breath. What we are training is the ability to come back to the breath. We are not training for some abstract, thoughtless state. Thoughts are inevitable. But what we are training is our ability to follow through our intentions. The intention in the moment is to focus on the breath. And whenever we are not following our intentions by being lost in thought, we just notice that and come back to the breath. I'll leave you in silence for a few minutes. Where is your mind right now? If you're lost in thought, just notice the fact that you're lost in thought and come back to the breath. Just notice and gently come back to the breath. And then just focus on the flow of the breath at your nostrils, coming in, going out. You just observe. For the last 2 minutes, Bring all your attention to the breath. Just for these 2 minutes, leave aside every thought you have and just be with your breath. And just be with your breath. Just for these 2 minutes. Okay, thank you. Please open your eyes. How does this feel? Again, to remind you, there is no specific way which is right to feel after doing a meditation sitting. But you'll notice that if you're able to drop the thoughts for some time, then there's some inherent pleasure that comes with concentration. But again, that need not be your experience. The goal of the practice is not to get into a specific state, but the goal of the practice, at least at this stage, is to exercise our muscle of coming back, is to exercise our muscle of noticing when we are lost in thought, of noticing when we are off our intentions, and coming back to the practice at hand. So I hope you found this episode helpful. Again, keep your comments and questions coming. For now, I'll take your leave. Thank you very much.